here we go. Let's take a look down over here. Oh my God. There he is, right there. Holy. So yeah, that's exactly what happened. I went out hunting last night and I almost had a head mount buck. It was absolutely wild. I'm sitting way up on the ridge looking down private land, and I could see for about 550 yards. But here's the thing. As I was sitting there, I didn't think anything was going to come out. It was really cold. It just snowed. I didn't see any tracks on the ground anywhere. But it was the last day, so I figured, why not? I'm sitting there just relaxing, trying to stay warm, looking at my phone a little bit to kind of distract me and whatever. I mean, I could see a long ways. So next thing I know, I see this big dark spot going across the snow. I mean, huge. I pull up my scope and I'm like, oh my God, that's a head mount. And I tried to get a range on him and I couldn't even range that thing. It was so far out that even if I wanted to take a shot like that, for one, he tried it. There was an opening. It was maybe 60 yards wide. So basically from right here to right here is the only shot opportunity that I had. I pull up my scope and I'm thinking, yeah, I got a turret, but I don't even know what to set it at. Do I set it at 500? Do I set it at 600? If I set it at 600, do I hold high? Do I hold right on? I'm just, you know, so I decided not to take the shot. And then I realized that the other side over there, which is this woods, was a slither of private, but right on the edge of it is public. So I figured that buck should eventually come out of that public and come back over into this woods here, because this is where he's safe at. Well, I decided to sneak on over and get to the middle. That way, if he popped back out, he'd only be 350 yards instead of 600 or 650 yards. So at that point, I decided to sneak over to the middle stand and wait. Except I couldn't even quite get to the middle stand. I got almost there and I saw another deer come out right where that buck went in. I'm thinking it was going to be him, so I'm getting ready, and guess what? It was a doe. So I sat there and waited for another 35-40 minutes, and I seen another buck come out from the same woods that the initial buck came from before. Over here, he crossed all the way out across again, and that was actually a nice 16-inch 8, a real nice buck. But it wasn't the head mount. The one that I saw before, that head mount, I'm telling you, it was all of 600 yards, and I had my scope set on 4 power, which is the lowest magnification on the scope, and I could tell it was head mount immediately. So then I zeroed into, or I should say I zoomed into 12 power, and it just got bigger and bigger. I really wanted to take the shot, but I've never taken a shot past 300 yards with that rifle. It's my AR-308 Palmetto, and I've just never taken a shot past 300. Not that I wouldn't. If it would have stopped and if it would have been feeding out in the field, that would have been one thing. I really wish I could have taken that shot, because like I said, I do have a turret on my scope, but since it didn't stop, I mean, unless you got some kind of suppressor, you're gonna take one shot and that thing's gonna be gone. Because you really want to be able to see where your bullet hits the snow, so you can kind of tell where the impact is and then kind of judge accordingly to that, so you readjust for your next shot to be more accurate. But if you don't have some kind of suppressor, it's going to be loud. No matter how far away that deer is, he's going to be gone. And at that point, if that first shot doesn't connect, even if it does hit something, if it's not good enough, then you got blood and you got no deer and you got a head mount on the run, and that's double bad. So yeah, long story short, I never got him, and he also never came back out. But the good thing is, he should be there for muzzleloader and potentially second season bow season. Max weight gobbler. Oh, I was zeroed for 160. Whoops. Whoops. Had potential. Shot's gonna be low though. Look at the gobbler, has no clue what even happened. Gobbler's just sitting there. Heart shot. Dropped him. So as you saw, we weren't able to get a shot off on that absolute monster whitetail buck. So what we did is move the stand a little bit closer, and now I'm gonna see if we can't get a shot when he comes through the woods. Which, this is pretty much exactly what I did last night. Except I was never able to get into the stand. Oh, I thought that was gonna be him. And that's almost what happened too, because I was sitting there and the exact location where the giant buck went in, all of a sudden, a huge doe decided to come out in that spot. So I thought it was for surely gonna be him, but there was no rack. You couldn't make this up. I mean, there's a good one coming in. There's a really good one coming in. Holy, look at that thing. That's a beast of a buck. But it's still not the right one. And man, I was sitting there for so long waiting for him to show up. All he had to do is pop back out and he would have been done. That's all he had to do. But he never showed. Well, in this case here, we actually have another stand that we're gonna try and get to that just maybe might have our giant buck in it. And I'm talking about right over here. It's a long ways out, but there's a chance he might be over there. There's a decent buck right there bedded down. Alright, so we need to sneak over there. I think the coast should be clear. And I don't believe anything else is coming in anytime soon. So, but either way, we're gonna sneak over there. And this is what I had to do as well. I legitimately had to crawl, not on my knees, but I had to crawl with my back bent all the way down and really low to the ground. Ever so often stopping, looking, making sure that he didn't all of a sudden pop out and potentially bust me. So my back was completely sore by the time I got all the way over there and got set up on that buck. Only to have him never show back up again. But let me tell you what, it was one heck of an adrenaline rush. From the moment I saw him at 560 yards to the moment I got back into his territory where he lives every single day. Any second, he could have stepped out. You know, as we're heading over here, this is a great buck. I don't think we're gonna pass up this opportunity at taking down this buck. We got him out here at about 90 yards out from us. And this AR is pretty quiet, so we're gonna make sure we take a really good shot on him. And that should be good. We dropped him there. Plus, there's a chance we might have jumped him up if he happened to be back in this woods here somewhere, but I don't believe he was. And I can't believe how many deer are here. They're just everywhere. And so obviously at this point, we know he's not here, which means we don't need to completely sneak anymore. But the reason is because we have to look on the other side of the field. Oh, you never know. He still might be here, but I kind of doubt it. Yeah, I'd say he's not here. All right, well, let's pick up this buck. He was a good one. A real good one. And it looks like a 180, 189. Nice hard shot there at 90 yards, right through the shoulder blade. But look at the mass on this buck. Holy. That's an awesome buck right there. You typically don't see a buck with this much mass and this much spread. So if you do, you don't exactly want to pass that thing up. Especially a 180 rack. And by 180, I'm talking Call of the Wild standards, of course. Because 180 in real life, you wouldn't even think of blinking on that buck. All right, here we go. Let's take a look down over here. Oh my God. There he is, right there. Holy. Yeah, I would have absolutely loved to have that buck stop at about 600 yards last night. I would have loved to have this angle. Well, in this case here, we're looking at over 430 yards, probably 450 to be honest. It's a tough distance here, but all I know is I have it pretty much maxed out. So we're gonna have to hold high for the spine. But if this was last night, I would have took my turret and dialed it to 400. Because it's dead on for 200. Which 400 would be a good bit of a drop. And I don't have anything to rest it on. That's one thing that I wish we had in a stand, or we had some kind of shooting sticks so we could hold it steady. Because at this distance here, a lot of things could happen. Wow, that's far. Can I even get to a spot where I can get a shot through here somehow? Holy. Wow, this is a long ways out. There we go, there we go, there we go. Oh my god. We drilled him! We drilled him! No way! Watch him. He's going down. He's down! He is down! Oh wow, that was a heck of a shot. And an absolute monster of a whitetail buck. We're talking 230 plus. And he was out there at 430 yards. Just absolutely smoked him. We were basically holding right on the bottom of the spine for 450. And we connected. Big time. Holy did we connect. Now that was only 450 yards. Imagine another 200 yards on top of that. And he was moving. You know, I really wanted to take that shot. But again, there was nothing really good that could have came out of that. The farthest I've ever taken a shot with my AR-308 is probably 350. And to almost double that? Yeah, I mean, I guess if I was laying down, right, and I had my bipods out, and I had a perfect rest, then I probably would have. Probably would have. But I didn't have that. You know, I was just sitting up on the hill, looking down, and I should have had my shooting sticks, but unfortunately, I left them in South Dakota after I was chasing down the first big buck that I had a chance at. My backpack was half open, and he decided, or not he decided, got distracted by this buck coming in here. But as that buck was coming towards me, I had to haul across the field to get to the top of a ridge, and next thing you know, my backpack was open, lost my sweatshirt and my shooting sticks. So that would have maybe helped out on me deciding on whether or not I would have taken that shot or not, but either way, there's always next time. And it's a lot better to not hit a deer and track him for 1.5 miles to maybe find him or maybe not find him, than to just not shoot at all. Because I didn't screw up anything by doing that. Alright, got a long ways to go to get to this deer over here, but actually happen to have a tent right over here. Yeah, I'm pretty excited to find out how far this buck actually was and figure out where we technically hit this thing. As I said, we were holding kind of mid-spine, but it seemed like we got more drop. I'm thinking we must have hit low lung, because I probably should have held a little bit higher. All I know is we're not going to have to track this thing anywhere, because he's piled up right here, and look at that rack. Holy. That looks very similar to the one that I saw last night. He was a 13-pointer, and he just had a ton of stuff going on. All I could see was him broadside. I could tell he was tall, super thick, and had a ton of mass with a good chunk of points, but I don't know exactly how wide he was, but I knew he was guaranteed head mount instantly at 600 yards. Well, let's pick him up and see how big he's gonna be. Oh my god, he's gonna be a 241 gold. And that shot was a 407-yard shot. Looks like we did drop a little bit low there. Anytime you see left humerus, you know that you drop lower than what you would have liked. But at the same time, that's pretty much where the heart is. So most of the time, if you're gonna drop low, you're gonna hit a lot better than if you would have hit higher up. And look at this rack. Is this like a newer type of rack? Because it seems like the main beams are a lot longer than usual. Look at that thing. Wow. That's a sweet looking buck and one incredible amount of mass. Unbelievable. Look at that. So it looks like we have to, let's see, G4 and 5 are almost connecting on both sides there. And then the rest kind of go straight up. But the G3 is a little bit shorter than the G4 itself. Looks like the G3 on both sides kind of curl in quite a bit. Either way, that was an awesome buck and one heck of a great shot. Let's take a look at what I'm talking about. So I pretty much guarantee it we hit, well, he was angled like this. I guarantee we probably dropped to right about here. Oh, I mean, you couldn't beat that shot. You literally couldn't beat that shot. I thought we dropped low, but that was absolutely money. It drilled the bottom of the shoulder blade. But with an AR-308, you're going right through that shoulder and you're gonna get some pretty good penetration. That was potentially a double lung shot at 400 yards. Oh, if only I could have pulled that off last night. If only I could have pulled it off. But anyways, you live and you learn. And hopefully next time, I guess in this case, I get a little bit more lucky. Because if he was 200 yards closer, things would have been quite a bit different. Quite a bit different. Well, anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Also, hit the hype button in the comments down below. It helps out with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.